Imagine waking up one day with the unsettling realization that your kindness has been a prison, that every yes you've spoken when you meant no, every smile you forced when you felt disrespected, and every boundary you've dissolved to keep the peace has not made you a good person, it has made you invisible. Think about it. How many times have you swallowed your truth to avoid conflict? How many times have you prioritized someone else's comfort over your own dignity? How often do you feel exhausted, resentful, and unappreciated despite bending over backwards for others? Today, we're going to explore one of the most dangerous traps in modern society, the belief that being nice is a virtue. But what if I told you that niceness is not kindness, that the two are fundamentally different and confusing them has kept you small, powerless, and disconnected from your authentic self? Stay with me, because as we uncover the hidden cost of being nice, you will come to see why it destroys your boundaries, erodes your authenticity, and ultimately turns you into a stranger to yourself. The final realization we will discuss is the most liberating of all. It has the potential to shift not only the way you see yourself, but also the very way you engage with the world. From the moment we enter the world, we are conditioned. We are taught that being nice is the path to being loved, accepted, and valued. Be polite, they say. Don't make waves. Don't upset people. Always be pleasant. This programming is so subtle and gradual that we rarely question it. We adapt, we conform, and over time, we learn to suppress our true feelings, our honest opinions, and our authentic reactions because they might disturb someone else's comfort. Think back to your childhood. Were there moments when you expressed anger, disappointment, or disagreement, only to be met with disapproval? Perhaps you were told to be the bigger person, to stop being difficult, or that expressing your needs was selfish. Maybe you watched a parent who was too assertive get criticized, and you learned that speaking up leads to judgment. Or perhaps you were the sensitive child, the one who noticed tension in the room, and you discovered that if you just stayed quiet, stayed agreeable, stayed small, the storm would pass over you. Slowly, you learned to hide those parts of yourself. You learned that your value was contingent on how agreeable you were. You learned to read the room before speaking, to gauge other people's moods before expressing your own, to calculate every word to minimize the risk of rejection. And in doing so, you began to build a mask, a performance of pleasantness that would earn you acceptance. But here's the problem. Niceness is not authenticity. Niceness is a strategy. It is a calculated behavior designed to avoid rejection, minimize conflict, and maintain a facade of harmony. And the more you perform niceness, the more you lose touch with who you actually are beneath the performance. Let me be clear, there is nothing wrong with being kind, considerate, or compassionate, but niceness is different. Kindness comes from a place of strength and choice. You are kind because you genuinely care, because you have the capacity to give, because it aligns with your values. Kindness has boundaries. Kindness can say no. Kindness can disappoint people when necessary because it honors both yourself and others. Niceness, on the other hand, comes from fear and obligation. Niceness says yes when it means no. Niceness smiles when it wants to scream. Niceness sacrifices itself to appease others, not out of genuine generosity, but out of terror. Terror of rejection, of conflict, of being seen as difficult or demanding. And here's where it gets even more insidious. Niceness is often disguised as virtue. Society rewards it. People praise you for being so sweet, so accommodating, so easy to deal with. Your niceness makes you convenient. It makes you non-threatening. It makes you manageable. But beneath the surface, something else is happening. You are disappearing. Your needs are being ignored. Your voice is being silenced. And the people around you, consciously or unconsciously, are learning that your boundaries don't matter. Think back to the last time someone crossed a line with you. Maybe they made an unreasonable demand on your time. Maybe they spoke to you disrespectfully. Maybe they violated a boundary you had tried to set. And what did you do? Did you address it directly, or did you smile, nod, and swallow your frustration? Did you tell yourself it wasn't worth the conflict? Did you rationalize their behavior, making excuses for why they treated you that way? This is the trap in action. And every time you choose niceness over authenticity, every time you prioritize someone else's comfort over your own dignity, you reinforce the pattern. You teach your nervous system that your feelings don't matter. You teach the people around you that your boundaries are negotiable. And you teach yourself that love is conditional, that you are only worthy of acceptance when you are performing. Let's talk about what niceness really costs you. Because the trap of being nice doesn't just affect your external relationships, it fundamentally alters your relationship with yourself. First, it destroys your boundaries. When you are conditioned to prioritize other people's feelings over your own, you lose the ability to say no. You become a dumping ground for other people's problems, demands, and expectations. Your time, your energy, and your emotional bandwidth are constantly being drained because you cannot assert what you need or want without feeling guilty. Have you ever agreed to something you didn't want to do simply because you feared the discomfort of declining? Have you ever taken on extra work, extra responsibility, extra emotional labor because saying no felt too selfish? Have you ever remained silent when someone disrespected you because calling it out felt too confrontational? This is the erosion of boundaries in real time. And every time you betray yourself to keep someone else comfortable, you send a message to your unconscious mind: I am not worthy of protection. My needs do not matter. Let me give you a concrete example. Imagine you have a friend who constantly calls you late at night to vent about their problems. They never ask how you're doing. They never reciprocate the emotional support. But every time they call, you answer, you listen, you give advice. You sacrifice your sleep, your peace, your energy, and you tell yourself this is what good friends do. But here's the question: is this kindness or is this people-pleasing? Because true kindness would include boundaries. True kindness would say, I care about you, but I can't take calls after 10 p.m. Let's talk tomorrow when I have the capacity to be fully present. But niceness can't do that. Niceness is terrified that setting a boundary will be perceived as rejection. So instead, you continue to answer the phone, and you continue to feel drained, and over time, you begin to resent this person. Which brings us to the second cost. Niceness breathes resentment. You may think you're being selfless, but underneath the forced smiles and accommodating behavior, anger is building. Because here's the truth: you cannot suppress your authentic feelings indefinitely. They don't disappear, they go underground, and over time they transform into bitterness, frustration, and a deep sense of being unseen and unappreciated. You start to resent the very people you've been bending over backwards for. You wonder why no one reciprocates your kindness, why no one seems to consider your needs the way you consider theirs. You feel invisible, taken for granted, like a doormat that everyone walks over without a second thought. But the painful reality is this: you taught them not to. By never asserting yourself, by never expressing your boundaries, by never showing them your authentic reactions, you trained the people around you to treat you as an afterthought. And here's what makes this even more painful. The resentment doesn't just stay directed at others, it turns inward. You begin to resent yourself. You feel weak for not speaking up. You feel angry at yourself for being so accommodating. You criticize yourself for caring so much about what others think. But instead of addressing the root cause, the pattern of people-pleasing, you just try to be nicer. You double down on the very behavior that's destroying you, hoping that if you just give more, sacrifice more, accommodate more, eventually someone will see your worth. But they won't. Because the version of you they're seeing isn't real, it's a performance, and you can't build authentic connection on a foundation of performance. And third, perhaps most devastatingly, niceness disconnects you from your true self. When you spend years performing a version of yourself designed to please others, you forget who you are beneath the performance. You lose touch with your desires, your values, your instincts. You become so focused on reading the room, managing other people's emotions, and avoiding disapproval that you have no idea what you actually think, feel, or want. Ask yourself right now, what do I actually want? Not what you think you should want, not what would make others happy, not what seems reasonable or appropriate. What do you want? If you struggle to answer that question, if you have to pause and really think about it, that's a sign. That's the cost of niceness showing itself. You've spent so long asking, what does everyone else need from me, that you've forgotten to ask, what do I need from myself? This is the ultimate trap. Niceness doesn't just cost you your boundaries and your peace, it costs you. Carl Jung, the pioneering psychologist who explored the depths of the human psyche, understood this trap intimately. He called the mask we present to the world the persona. The persona is the social face we construct to navigate relationships, gain acceptance, and function in society. And while the persona serves a purpose, it helps us adapt to different contexts, fulfill various roles, and connect with others, it becomes dangerous when we forget it's a mask. For the chronic people pleaser, the persona of niceness becomes so ingrained that it replaces the authentic self entirely. You are no longer choosing to be agreeable in certain situations. You are trapped in a perpetual performance where any deviation from niceness feels threatening, wrong, or impossible. Jung believed that psychological health requires a balance between the persona and the true self. The persona should be a tool we use consciously, not a prison we live in unconsciously. But most people never question their persona. They never stop to ask, is this really me, or is this just what I've learned to be? Think about the roles you play in your life. At work, you might be the reliable one who never complains. In your family, you might be the peacemaker who smooths over conflicts. In your friendships, you might be the supportive one who's always available. These roles aren't inherently bad, but ask yourself, do you have permission to be anything else? Can you be unreliable sometimes? Can you create conflict when it's necessary? Can you be unavailable when you need rest? If the answer is no, if these roles feel non-negotiable, if stepping out of them creates intense anxiety or guilt, then you're not playing a role by choice. You're trapped in a persona. And beneath that persona, your authentic self is suffocating.
Now let's go deeper, because if we're being honest, niceness isn't just about being agreeable. It's about control, it's about fear, and it's about avoiding the parts of yourself that you've been taught are unacceptable. Think about it. Why are you afraid to say no? Why are you terrified of disappointing someone? Why does the thought of being perceived as difficult, demanding, or too much fill you with dread? The answer lies in what Jung called the shadow, the hidden, suppressed parts of the self that we reject because they don't align with the persona we've constructed. For the people pleaser, the shadow contains everything that contradicts niceness: anger, selfishness, assertiveness, the capacity to prioritize yourself over others, the ability to create conflict when necessary. You have been taught that these qualities are bad, that anger is ugly and destructive, that prioritizing your own needs is selfish and immoral, that asserting yourself is aggressive and unfeminine or unmasculine, depending on gender expectations, that creating conflict makes you a problem. So you bury these parts of yourself deep in the unconscious, believing that if you just stay nice enough, agreeable enough, selfless enough, you will finally be loved and accepted unconditionally. But here's the profound truth Jung discovered. The shadow doesn't disappear just because you refuse to look at it. Instead, it operates beneath the surface, influencing your behavior in ways you don't fully understand. It shows up as passive aggression, the subtle dig disguised as a joke, the forgotten commitment, the cold silence that punishes without direct confrontation. It shows up as self-sabotage, procrastinating on your own goals, dismissing your own needs, ensuring you never succeed enough to threaten the status quo. It shows up as sudden outbursts of anger that seem to come out of nowhere, erupting after weeks or months of suppressed frustration.
And it shows up as chronic anxiety and exhaustion, because maintaining the performance of niceness requires constant vigilance. You're always monitoring yourself, always editing your reactions, always calculating the safest response. Your nervous system is in a perpetual state of hypervigilance, scanning for threats to your acceptance, and that is exhausting. Has you ever noticed how drained you feel after social interactions, even pleasant ones? Have you ever needed hours or even days to recover from spending time with certain people? That's not introversion, that's the exhaustion of performing. When you're constantly suppressing your authentic reactions and managing your persona, social interaction becomes labor rather than connection. But here's the most powerful insight of all. The qualities you've rejected, your anger, your assertiveness, your selfishness, your ability to say no, your capacity to disappoint people, are not your enemies. They are the missing pieces of your wholeness. They are the very things that will set you free. Let's talk about anger specifically, because this is often the most suppressed emotion for people pleasers. You've been taught that anger is bad, that it's destructive, that good people don't get angry. But anger is actually a healthy, necessary emotion. Anger is the signal that a boundary has been violated. Anger is the energy that allows you to protect yourself. Anger is the force that says, this is not okay and I will not accept it. Without access to your anger, you cannot defend yourself. You become a perpetual victim, absorbing mistreatment without the capacity to push back. And the people around you, even good people who care about you, will unconsciously take advantage of your inability to assert yourself. Not because they're malicious, but because you've never shown them where your limits are. Imagine what it would feel like to reclaim your anger, not as destructive rage, but as a healthy signal that your boundaries have been violated. Imagine what it would feel like to embrace your selfishness, not as cruelty or narcissism, but as the radical act of prioritizing your own well-being when necessary. Imagine what it would feel like to assert yourself without guilt, to speak your truth without fear, to exist in the world as a whole, integrated person rather than a fragmented performance. This is the power of integrating the shadow. It is not about becoming mean or unkind. It is about becoming real. It is about reclaiming all the parts of yourself that you were taught to suppress and discovering that they are not monsters, they are medicine. Now, let's talk about something uncomfortable: the people in your life who benefit from your inability to set boundaries. There are generally two types of people who are drawn to chronic people pleasers. The first type doesn't even realize what they're doing. These are genuinely caring people who have become accustomed to your pattern of accommodation. They've learned that you'll always say yes, that you'll always be available, that your needs can wait. They're not consciously manipulating you, they're simply responding to the dynamic you've created. These relationships can often be healed once you begin setting boundaries. Yes, there will be an adjustment period. Yes, they might initially react with confusion or disappointment, but if they truly value you, they will adapt. They will learn to respect your boundaries because they respect you. But then there's the second type, the people who are consciously exploiting your people-pleasing tendencies. These are the emotional vampires, the narcissists, the manipulators who have identified you as an easy target. They know you struggle to say no. They know you'll tolerate mistreatment to avoid conflict. They know you'll sacrifice yourself to maintain the relationship, and they will drain you dry. And here's the devastating part. You'll make excuses for them. You'll tell yourself they're going through a hard time. You'll rationalize their behavior. You'll blame yourself for being too sensitive, too demanding, too needy. Because admitting that someone is exploiting your kindness means admitting that your niceness has made you vulnerable. And that's a terrifying realization. But it's also a liberating one. Because once you see the pattern, once you understand how your people-pleasing attracts and enables exploitative people, you can start making different choices. You can start recognizing red flags earlier. You can start trusting your instincts when something feels off. And you can start prioritizing relationships with people who actually value you for who you are, not for what you can do for them.
So how do you break free? How do you stop being nice and start being authentic? The first step is awareness.
You must recognize that niceness is a trap, that it has been costing you your boundaries, your peace, and your sense of self. You must stop confusing niceness with virtue and start asking yourself the hard questions. Am I being kind or am I being compliant? Am I being compassionate or am I being afraid? Am I giving because I want to or because I'm terrified of what will happen if I don't? Start paying attention to your body. Your body knows the difference between authentic kindness and performative niceness. When you're being genuinely kind, you feel expansive, warm, connected. When you're people-pleasing out of fear, you feel contracted, tense, resentful. Your body is speaking to you constantly. You've just learned to ignore it. The second step is to confront the fear beneath the behavior. Why are you so terrified of disappointing people? What do you believe will happen if you assert yourself? Is it really about the other person's reaction, or is it about an old wound, a moment in your past when expressing your needs led to rejection, punishment, or abandonment? Most people pleasers are running from a childhood fear, a fear that they are only lovable when they are useful, that their value is contingent on how much they give, that if they stop performing niceness, they will be abandoned. But here's the truth. Anyone who only values you for your compliance does not truly value you at all. They value what you do for them, not who you are. And the fear of abandonment, while understandable, is often based on outdated information. Yes, maybe when you were 5 years old and completely dependent on your caregivers, being rejected would have been life-threatening. But you're not 5 anymore. You're an adult with resources, autonomy, and options. The people who would abandon you for having boundaries were never truly in your corner to begin with. The third step is to start practicing boundary setting, even when it feels uncomfortable. Start small. Say no to something you don't want to do. Speak up when someone crosses a line. Express a contrary opinion without apologizing for it. And notice what happens. Notice that the world does not end. Notice that the people who truly respect you will honor your boundaries. And notice that the people who react with anger, guilt-tripping, or emotional manipulation were never interested in your well-being in the first place. They were interested in your compliance. Here's a practical exercise. For the next week, every time you're about to say yes to something, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, do I genuinely want to do this, or am I saying yes out of obligation or fear? If it's the latter, practice saying no. You don't need to justify or explain. A simple "I'm not available" or "that doesn't work for me" is sufficient. And when the guilt comes, and it will come, recognize it for what it is, not a sign that you've done something wrong, but evidence that you're breaking a pattern. The guilt is actually a good sign. It means you're doing something different. It means you're choosing yourself. And over time, as you practice setting boundaries and discover that the catastrophic consequences you feared don't materialize, the guilt will lessen. Eventually, saying no will feel natural rather than terrifying. But let's go even deeper, because the ultimate trap of niceness is not just that it destroys your boundaries, it's that it keeps you from ever discovering who you truly are. When you spend your entire life performing for others, you never get the chance to ask, who am I when I'm not trying to please anyone? What do I actually want? What are my values, my desires, my truths? Carl Jung believed the true fulfillment comes not from conforming to external expectations, but from a process he called individuation, the journey of becoming your most authentic self. But individuation requires you to stop running from yourself. It requires you to face the parts of yourself you've been taught to suppress. It requires you to integrate the shadow, to embrace the fullness of who you are, and to stop apologizing for taking up space in the world. This is not easy. It is uncomfortable. It is confronting, because it means looking at the ways you've betrayed yourself. It means acknowledging the years you've spent silencing your voice to keep the peace. It means grieving the relationships that were built on your performance rather than your authenticity. Some of those relationships won't survive your transformation, and that's okay. Actually, it's necessary, because you cannot become your authentic self while maintaining relationships that require you to stay small. You cannot step into your power while surrounded by people who are invested in your powerlessness. This doesn't mean you need to burn every bridge or cut everyone out of your life, But it does mean you need to be willing to let go of relationships that no longer serve your growth. It means accepting that some people loved the version of you that accommodated them, and they won't love the version of you that prioritizes yourself. And while that's painful, it's also clarifying, because those people never truly loved you. They loved what you did for them, not who you are. And the profound truth is, on the other side of that discomfort is freedom. On the other side of that confrontation is wholeness. On the other side of that grief is a version of yourself that is no longer afraid to exist fully, unapologetically, and authentically. Imagine waking up in the morning without immediately thinking about what everyone else needs from you. Imagine having conversations where you say what you actually think instead of calculating the safest response. Imagine making decisions based on your own values rather than other people's expectations. Imagine feeling anger without shame, expressing disagreement without terror, prioritizing yourself without guilt. This is what's possible when you break free from the trap of niceness. This is what's waiting for you on the other side of people-pleasing.
And here's the beautiful paradox. When you stop trying to make everyone like you, you actually become more likable. Not to everyone. You'll never be everyone's cup of tea, and that's perfect. But to the right people, to the people who value authenticity over agreeableness, to the people who want genuine connection rather than convenient compliance. When you're being authentic, you give others permission to be authentic too. Your willingness to set boundaries shows them that they can set boundaries. Your willingness to express disagreement shows them that they can disagree without destroying the relationship. Your willingness to prioritize yourself shows them that self-care isn't selfish, it's essential. Authentic relationships are built on mutual respect, not mutual accommodation. They're built on honesty, not performance. They're built on two whole people choosing to connect, not two fragmented people trying to fill each other's voids. And the quality of these relationships is incomparable to the superficial connections you maintained through people-pleasing. Yes, you might have fewer relationships, but they'll be deeper, more fulfilling, more real. You'll be able to trust that people are with you because they genuinely value you, not because you're convenient or useful. And now we arrive at the most powerful realization of all. You see, the trap of being nice is not just about people-pleasing. It's about a fundamental misunderstanding of who you are. Most people believe that their identity is fixed, that they are inherently the nice one, the helper, the peacemaker. But what if that identity is just a construct? What if the version of yourself that you've been clinging to is only a fragment of something much larger? Jung believed that the self is not a static entity. It is fluid, ever-evolving, and far greater than the labels we assign to it. The nice person you think you are is just one expression of your being, a role you adopted to survive, to be accepted, to feel safe. But it is not the totality of who you are. Beneath that role lies a vast, powerful, and authentic self that has been waiting to emerge, a self that is not afraid of conflict, a self that does not need external validation to feel worthy, a self that can hold space for both kindness and assertiveness, both compassion and boundaries, both love and self-respect. And the moment you stop clinging to the illusion of niceness, the moment you stop performing for approval and start living from your truth, you unlock infinite possibilities. Because here's the ultimate truth. You were never meant to be nice. You were meant to be whole. Wholeness means embracing all of yourself, the light and the dark, the agreeable and the difficult, the generous and the self-interested. Wholeness means no longer fragmenting yourself to fit into other people's expectations. Wholeness means integrating everything you've rejected and discovering that those rejected parts hold the keys to your liberation. Think about the version of yourself that exists beyond niceness, the version that speaks their truth without calculating every word, the version that sets boundaries without drowning in guilt, the version that prioritizes their own well-being without apologizing for it, the version that can be kind without being compliant, compassionate without being self-sacrificing, loving without being people-pleasing. That version of you is not some distant ideal you need to become. It's already there, beneath the layers of conditioning and fear. It's been there all along, waiting for you to remember,
waiting for you to choose yourself, waiting for you to step into the fullness of who you truly are. So now the choice is yours. Will you continue living as a people pleaser, sacrificing yourself to maintain a facade of harmony? Will you keep performing niceness, hoping that if you just give enough, sacrifice enough, accommodate enough, someone will finally see your worth? Or will you step forward into the unknown, embracing the fullness of who you are, unapologetic, authentic, and free? The path of authenticity is not easy. It requires courage. It requires confronting the fears you've been running from your entire life. It requires disappointing people, setting boundaries, and accepting that not everyone will love the real you. But the alternative, spending your entire life as a stranger to yourself, living for everyone else's approval, dying with your truth still locked inside, is that really living at all? Because life does not truly begin until you stop being nice and start being real. Until you stop performing and start existing. Until you stop accommodating and start asserting. Until you stop disappearing and start showing up as the whole, complete, unapologetic person you were always meant to be. The trap of niceness has kept you small for long enough. You've spent years, maybe decades, putting everyone else first. You've sacrificed your boundaries, your peace, your authentic self at the altar of other people's comfort. But today, that can change. Today, you can begin the journey back to yourself. Today, you can start reclaiming the parts of you that you buried to be accepted. Today, you can start speaking your truth, setting your boundaries, and prioritizing your own well-being. Not because you're selfish, not because you're unkind, but because you finally understand that you matter too, that your needs are valid, that your voice deserves to be heard, that you are worthy of love and respect without having to earn it through constant accommodation. The world does not need more nice people. It needs more authentic people. People who are brave enough to be real. People who are strong enough to set boundaries. People who are whole enough to love without losing themselves. And that person can be you. The journey starts now. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if this video resonates with you.